Welcome to the Practical World Podcast, your gateway to work insights and captivating stories from Thailand and beyond. This is the real world. This is the Practical World Podcast.
Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the noise so you don't have to. Today, we're really digging into something huge, something that's everywhere now, these large language models like ChatGPT. And look, we've heard from so many of you asking this pretty direct question. Does relying on AI tools like ChatGPT actually, poison our brains? So that's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to try and get to the heart of it, explore the potential effects AI might be having on, how we think, on our brain function. We've really waded through the latest research. There's a big 2025 investigation from the MIT Media Lab we'll unpack. I want to uncover both the concerning stuff, but also some surprising upsides. Basically give you the shortcut to being properly informed on this. It's vital, right?
It absolutely is. And the urgency, you can feel it. As these AI tools become just part of our daily fabric, researchers are, quite rightly, asking, is this reliance changing our brains, our neural connections, cognitive skills, how we even learned? So yeah, we'll lay out how things like ChatGPT might be affecting us, the good, the bad, and what it all really means.
Okay, let's get into it then. You mentioned concerning patterns, and that 2025 MIT Media Lab study seems like the place we have to start. What exactly did they do? What were the big takeaways?
Right, the MIT study, what's really impressive about it is how they designed it. They took 54 people, aged 18 to 39, tracked them for 4 months, and they split them up, 3 groups. One used ChatGPT 4, another used Google search, and the third group, they just wrote stuff out without any outside digital help. But the key thing, the real game changer, was using EEG electroencephalography. They were literally watching brain activity across 32 different spots in real time.
Wow. So direct brain monitoring, what did that show?
It showed some pretty striking things, honestly. They found these measurable cognitive costs, and they actually built up over the 4 months, specifically the ChatGPT users. They remembered less, lower memory retention, and they showed weaker alpha and theta brainwaves.
Okay, alpha and theta. Remind us what those mean.
Yeah, essentially there are signals your brain sends when it's actively engaged, especially in forming deeper memories. So weaker waves likely meant, it suggests their brains were sort of bypassing that deep memory work.
Like outsourcing the effort.
Exactly. Like the brain wasn't even the heavy lifting of really embedding that information. And the lead author, Natalia Kosmina, she put it very bluntly, quote, developing brains are at the highest risk. That really underlines the potential long-term worry.
Okay, wow. So developing brains at highest risk, that's heavy. If our brains are literally working differently, maybe connecting less, what does that actually feel like day to day? What's happening neurologically? Let's get into those mechanisms.
Right. This leads us to something researchers call cognitive offloading. It's a pretty intuitive idea, actually. Instead of doing all the mental work ourselves, making decisions, remembering stuff, even creative thinking, we hand it over. We delegate it to machines.
We let the AI do the thinking.
Sort of, yeah. And this constant delegation, this dependency, it could lead to something called cognitive atrophy.
Atrophy, like a muscle you don't use.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The idea is that these mental skills might weaken if they aren't exercised, potentially diminishing things like creativity or our ability to make independent judgments. And the MIT study seemed to actually see this in the brain scans. They found brain connectivity, the links between different brain areas, it systematically decreased the more people relied on outside help.
So the more you use the tools, the less connected your brain looked.
That's what they saw. The group running totally on their own, strongest, most widespread connections. The Google search users were like in the middle, but the ChatGPT users, they showed the weakest overall neural coupling. And the study said they consistently underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels.
That sounds not good.
Well, it matters because strong neural connectivity is fundamental, right? For critical thinking, making memories, being mentally flexible. They saw specific impacts like less activity in the prefrontal cortex, that's your executive function hub. Reduced engagement in other areas, key for memory and attention. It really painted a picture of an underengaged brain network.
And what about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change?
That's a huge piece of the puzzle. Neuroplasticity is how our brain reorganizes, forms new connections based on experience. It's how we learn and adapt. So the concern is, if you're constantly outsourcing these cognitive tasks, you might actually be weakening the very pathways needed for critical thinking and problem solving. It could potentially slow down the development of skills that just need practice, effort, and maybe even alter how those brain regions for memory and attention develop over the long haul.
Okay, that neurological picture is a lot to process. But bringing it back to everyday life, how does this translate? How does it affect our actual memory, our ability to think critically day to day? This is where it gets really interesting for everyone listening.
Yeah, this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. There was another study, 2024, in the International Journal of Educational Technology in Higher Education, looked at students. They found a pretty worrying trend. Students who relied heavily on ChatGPT, they reported more memory loss. They procrastinated more, and their academic performance actually dipped lower GPAs.
Why? What was the connection?
The researchers basically said, look, because ChatGPT gives you answers so fast, students might just reduce their own mental effort. They don't struggle with the material in the same way. And less effort often means, well, poorer memory consolidation.
Right. No pain, no gain, cognitively speaking.
Something like that. And this ties into that concept of cognitive debt. The idea is that by constantly taking these cognitive shortcuts with AI, you're essentially weakening your underlying learning and analytical abilities over time. You're borrowing convenience now, but paying for it later in terms of skill.
And it's not just students, right? You mentioned workplace impacts.
Exactly. Microsoft did some research, just came out in 2025, focused on critical thinking in the workplace. Really interesting stuff. They found over half, 58.1% of users said they were relying more on AI tools for making decisions on the job.
Okay, that's a big number.
It is. But here's the really fascinating bit, what they call a paradox. People who had more confidence in the AI, they were actually less likely to engage in critical thinking themselves.
Wait, so trusting the AI more meant thinking less?
That's what it suggests, kind of a blind faith scenario.
Yeah.
Conversely, people with higher self-confidence, they were more likely to actually analyze, to question what the AI produced.
So self-belief makes you challenge the machine more.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
It suggests this blind trust can actively dampen your own analytical thought. And it's changing what critical thinking even looks like.
Yeah.
People are becoming more like AI supervisors,
Meaning
they spend more time checking and verifying the AI's output rather than doing the initial problem solving or idea generation themselves. One of Microsoft researchers had a great quote on this.
let's hear it.
They said, a key irony of automation is that by mechanizing routine tasks and leaving exception handling to the human user, you deprive the user of the routine opportunities to practice their judgment and strengthen their cognitive musculature, leaving them atrophied and unprepared when the exceptions do arise.
Wow. So taking away the routine practice makes you weaker for the tough stuff.
That's the core idea.
Mm-hmm.
It also links to that feeling of digital amnesia. We don't remember phone numbers anymore because our phone does it for us. We offload the memory task. And another angle. If you look at Bloom's taxonomy, that hierarchy of thinking skills, ChatGPT tends to boost performance most at the lower levels. Remembering, understanding, applying.
The basics.
Right. It's less consistent at improving those higher order skills, analysis, evaluation, creation, the deep thinking stuff. And of course, it varies from person to person. Younger people seem to show higher dependence and lower critical thinking scores in some studies. Higher education levels seem to offer some protection, regardless of AI use.
And how often you use it must matter too.
Absolutely. More frequent uncritical use, correlated with less improvement in understanding complex ideas and reasoning logically. It really seems to come down to how you engage with it.
So it's hitting our thinking, our memory. But what about psychologically? Is there more going on beyond just cognition?
Oh, definitely. There's a whole psychological dimension here.
Yeah.
That MIT Media Lab study, actually working with OpenAI, found patterns of what they termed problematic use among some really heavy users.
Problematic how? Like addiction?
It shared some characteristics, yeah. Things like being preoccupied with a tool, feeling withdrawal symptoms if they couldn't access it, losing control over how much they used it, even using it to specifically modify their mood. And there was this really human element too. Some of these power users developed quite strong emotional attachments. They'd treat the chatbot like a friend, use pet names, terms of endearment.
Wow, really? Like a companion?
Yeah. And the concern there is, could this kind of emotional dependency start to substitute for real human connection? Could it, maybe paradoxically, end up making people feel more isolated?
That's unsettling. What else?
Well, another thing that's come up, especially in online discussions like on Reddit, is the potential for echo chamber effects.
How does that work with AI?
If you're mostly interacting with an AI that's sort of designed to be agreeable, to validate your thoughts, well, you can get into this feedback loop. It might lead to an inflated sense of your own ideas being right, less exposure to challenging views, and maybe finding it harder to handle criticism or disagreement when you encounter it from actual people.
Okay, that paints a pretty concerning picture overall. Cognitive debt, weaker connections, dependency, echo chambers. But surely it can't all be bad. Is there a silver lining? Can ChatGPT actually help our brains if we use it right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's crucial we don't paint this as entirely negative. There's definitely potential for good, and research is showing that quite clearly.
Okay, like what? Where's the upside?
Well, for one, think about specific groups. Studies are suggesting ChatGPT could offer really valuable cognitive support for people with dementia, for instance, by helping with memory recall, providing a form of companionship, tackling loneliness, even fostering social interaction in some cases. It could genuinely improve well being for people facing those kinds of cognitive challenges.
That's a really positive application. What about education?
Big potential there, too, if it's integrated thoughtfully,
Mm.
not just used as a cheat sheet.
Right, not just copy pasting answers.
Exactly. When used well, it can actually motivate students, help them develop reading and writing skills.
Mm.
It can reduce what educators call cognitive load, basically, the mental effort needed just to process information.
So it frees up brain power.
Potentially, yeah. Allowing students to focus more on higher level thinking, on understanding concepts deeply, rather than just memorizing facts.
Mm.
When it's a supplement, not a replacement, it can really boost understanding and engagement. I saw one study with medical students, over 92% felt that using ChatGPT appropriately would actually benefit their critical thinking skills.
That's a huge number believing it can help.
It is. And another one in chemistry education showed really significant improvements when ChatGPT was used in structured activities. Students felt much more confident asking insightful questions,
Confidence went up.
big time, from 61% up to 89%. Confidence in analyzing information logically, up from 55% to 84%. Understanding complex concepts, from 64% up to 92%.
Those are massive jumps.
They really are. It shows that when it's used intentionally as part of a learning process, the benefits can be substantial.
Okay, so it really, really matters how we use these tools. That seems to be the key takeaway. So let's get practical. What can people listening right now actually do to avoid the downsides and maybe tap into those benefits? What are the strategies?
Right, this is the crucial part. It boils down to mindful usage, essentially building good habits.
Yeah.
First off, think about balanced usage strategies.
Balanced usage, like don't use it for everything.
Exactly. Make a conscious effort to do some things manually. Flex those cognitive muscles. Do some mental math instead of grabbing the calculator app. Try handwriting notes. Sometimes it engages different parts of the brain. And really try to create without AI help sometimes. Draft that email yourself first. Brainstorm ideas on paper. It helps you reconnect with your own voice, your own way of thinking.
Good point. What else?
Maybe designate specific tech-free work zones or times, like no AI tools during dinner or in the bedroom, or maybe for the first hour of your workday. Simple boundaries. You can even use a kind of red light, yellow light, green light system for tasks. Red light, no AI, do it yourself. Yellow light, AI can assist, but you drive. Green light. Okay, AI can take the lead on this one, maybe for drafting initial ideas or summarizing dense text.
I like that traffic light idea. Simple.
And the overarching principle here is what some call the enhancement principle. Ask yourself, is using AI here truly enhancing my thinking or learning, or is just replacing it? Aim for enhancement.
Okay, so balance is key. What about actively engaging with it critically?
Absolutely vital. These are critical engagement strategies. Rule number one, always question and verify. Never just accept AI output as gospel.
Don't just trust it blindly.
Never. Cross-reference with reliable sources. Treat ChatGPT like a thinking partner, not an oracle. Frame your prompts like you're having a conversation. Ask follow-up questions. Challenged answers. Why did you suggest that? What's the evidence? Are there alternative views?
So push back a little.
Definitely. Focus on the why and the how behind its responses. Explore alternatives. A really powerful technique is to use the Socratic method on the AI.
How would that work?
Ask it to challenge you. If you had to critique my current thinking on this, where would you start? Or ask for different viewpoints. Give me 3 unpopular but potentially valid opinions on this issue. Use prompts that force deeper analysis. What are the underlying assumptions in this argument?
Turning the tables on the AI clever.
It forces you both to think harder and practice deliberate verification. Look for bias, check the logic, demand evidence, and then judge the quality of that evidence. Also, Get into iterative refinement. Start basic, evaluate the output critically, then refine your prompt based on that analysis. Ask it to explain its reasoning. Challenge it. Use that memory of thought idea to actively recall your last interaction before asking the next question. Builds your memory.
Right, making it an active process, not passive reception. Are there frameworks for this?
Yes, a few helpful ones. There's the DEQ framework. Focus on developing your own domain knowledge, your ethical acumen, understanding the implications, and your query capabilities, getting good at asking questions. There's also the idea of metacognitive continuous learning, using AI to design learning tasks for yourself that include reflection and self-assessment. And human AI mutual learning, seeing it as a partnership where both you and the tool improve through interaction.
Okay, lots of strategies there. What about a general approach? Like, how do you start using it well?
A progressive learning approach can be really effective. Think of it in stages. Stage 1. Guided exploration. Use AI to explore new topics, generate questions, spark curiosity, build a basic foundation.
Okay, starting point.
Stage 2, collaborative analysis. Now, you use it more like a thinking partner, back and forth dialogue. You challenge it, ask for justifications, compare your analysis to its output.
Getting more interactive.
Exactly. Then stage 3, independent application with AI verification. Here, you do the main thinking first. Develop your analysis, write your draft. Then use AI to spot weaknesses, check your reasoning, maybe simulate how different audiences might react. You're in the driver's seat. AI is the co-pilot or reviewer.
I see. So you gradually take back more control as you build your own skills.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It's about using these tools strategically to enhance specific thinking skills, analytical, creative, metacognitive, by challenging the AI, seeking diverse perspectives, and making it a reflective dialogue, not just a Q&A.
This has been incredibly insightful. So pulling it all together after this deep dive, what's the main message you want people to walk away with? Navigating this AI world, what's the crucial thing to remember?
Look, the core takeaway really is this. No, ChatGPT doesn't literally poison your brain in some toxic way. That's hyperbole. But, and it's big but, an excessive uncritical reliance can have significant negative consequences. We saw in the MIT study the potential for reduced brain engagement, weaker connections, poorer memory, especially if you're just passively accepting answers. That's a real concern, particularly, as they noted, for younger developing brains.
But it's not all doom and gloom.
Not at all. And this is just as important. When used mindfully, thoughtfully, as a supplement to our own thinking, not a replacement for it, AI tools like ChatGPT can offer genuine benefits. We saw that with cognitive support, with education when done right. The key really seems to be finding that balance, leveraging the power of AI, which is incredible, while actively, intentionally continuing to exercise and develop our own cognitive muscles.
Cognitive independence, you called it.
Exactly. Cognitive independence. Learn to use AI as a powerful tool, a collaborator, maybe even a challenger, but not as a crutch that lets your own critical thinking atrophy. It's about fostering an environment, personally and maybe even culturally, where technology helps us, aids us, but doesn't become the unquestioned authority on truth or thought. And make no mistake, this challenge, maintaining our critical thinking skills, is only going to get more intense as these AI tools get smarter, more pervasive. It's really on all of us, individuals, schools, workplaces, to figure out how to harness the good while fiercely protecting our unique human ability to analyze, question, and create.
That's a powerful point to end on. As we wrap up this deep dive, it really feels like we're at a pivotal moment. The choices we're making right now about how we integrate AI, they're not just about productivity. They're shaping our future minds.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening to mull over. What cognitive muscles are you consciously choosing to exercise each day, especially the ones you know AI could easily handle for you? How will you know if you're truly becoming a skillful AI supervisor of your own thinking processes, or if, little by little, you're starting to outsource the core of your critical thought entirely?
Thank you for joining. This is the Practical World Podcast.